Salem, Massachusetts, 1692. 77-year-old Margaret Scott was dragged to the center of the town. The accusation against her, a neighbor's cow had fallen ill, and the reason? She looked at it with an evil eye. A trivial incident, it seemed, yet it quickly became something far larger than a personal grudge. It became part of a much wider and more deliberate machinery of persecution. Margaret became the 19th victim, but her death was more than the end of a single life. It revealed how educated, organized, administrative power could control an entire society through fear. You might think, were these merely the products of medieval ignorance? They were not. The unsettling truth is this: these processes matured during the Renaissance and the early Enlightenment. University-trained jurists, ordained clergy, and local elites developed their own techniques, protocols, and two-phase procedures, not merely for inflicting bodily pain, but for psychological terror, systematic record-keeping, and economic extraction. They created a master system, an apparatus of cruelty hidden beneath the facade of bureaucratic legitimacy. This machine functioned in a sequence: accusation, documentation, public display, torture, confession, confiscation of property, and the use of that confiscated wealth to fund further investigations. In other words, a self-reinforcing cycle. Conservative counts suggest more than 10,000 recorded deaths, with historians differing on the exact totals. But the broader damage, imprisonment, torture, economic ruin, destroyed countless more lives. Consider this: the Renaissance was not only a time of arts and learning, it was also the era in which laboratory-grade knowledge was used to scientifically refine pain. Devices designed not always to kill outright, but to break the mind. Torture was framed as a legitimate path to revealing inevitable truth, and the collection of information, a sacred ideal to them, became a justification for systematic human destruction. Part 2. 8 instruments, tools, methods, and purposes. Analytical summary. Below is the concise analysis of the 8 major techniques. 1. The witch's chair, spike chair, and dunking variations. The chair inflicted not only physical pain, but deliberate humiliation. Cold water, prolonged discomfort, and public display combined to break the accused both mentally and physically until confession appeared to be the only escape. Forms varied by region, but the purpose remained the same: unconscious breakdown. 2. The swimming test, ordeal by water. The logic was perverse. They float, therefore they are guilty. If the accused drowned, they were innocent, dead but vindicated. If they floated, it was proof of witchcraft by the tribunal's theology. Entirely predetermined and judicially circular, the ordeal served as a theatrical lesson for the public about the consequences of defiance. 3. Public burnings and the theater of mass executions. These events were religious spectacles, rituals, and demonstrations of sovereign power. Permanent execution sites, elevated viewing spaces, and choreographed staging turned punishment into public instruction. Authority used these spectacles to ensure no moral or legal resistance could grow. 4. The Scold's Bridle, forced silence. Women's knowledge, midwifery, herbal medicine, and traditional healing was seen as a threat to institutional power. The bridle forcibly silenced such women, turning their voices into instruments of control. It represented the suppression of community-based knowledge and the disempowerment of those who possessed it. 5. The rack and surgical style dislocation. The rack was not merely a device of pain. It was an application of medical and anatomical knowledge turned upside down. By understanding joints and ligaments, torturers could pull the body apart gradually. The goal? Force confession while keeping the victim alive long enough for further information extraction. 6. Strappato or gravitational suspension. This method relied on mechanical understanding, leverage, joints, sudden drops. It attacked the body structure in ways that produced lifelong disability, while functioning as a powerful spectacle of fear. 7. Peine Fort de Door, pressing the case of Giles Corey. A legal paradox. If the accused refused to plead, the pressure increased. This was an exploitation of judicial loopholes for moral coercion. Giles Corey's agony and his defiant words, more weight, remain symbols of the brutality of the system and of the economic incentives behind it. 8. Thermal ordeals and fire tests. Calibrated heat, staged increments of burning, these were framed as rational methods of judgment. In reality, they were systematic torture disguised as scientific procedure. Collective purpose. Though these 8 techniques differed in method, their aim was identical: to shape society so that ordinary people would police one another, participating directly in the process of accusation and punishment. Fear and shame were orchestrated so carefully that communities became self-regulating, leaving official power free to use legal violence for resource redistribution and political control. Final lesson. For the present. This history is not merely an old wound. It teaches that knowledge, administration, and technology, without ethical restraint, can produce horrifying outcomes. The Renaissance was an age of artistic brilliance, but also of technocratically refined cruelty. Our own age of rapidly advancing science and technology carries the same potential. Only transparency, rights, and oversight can prevent such systems of power from returning, perhaps under different names but with the same logic.